Hello, I'm Spandan Tripathi, a grade 11 student currently studying at Motherland Secondary School in my hometown of Pokhara. Imagine a robot that can do it all, a product of beauty and fragility of nature and the innovation of humanity. A robot that is one step closer to making a change, a robot that can protect and monitor nature and help you protect nature from its threats. One go. Now let's discuss the problem that we're currently facing with every new city that is built, with every new road that is constructed. We cut and slice our forest into smaller and smaller clusters of their identity. We have turned a large forest into small pockets of small forest, which means those small clusters of plants are far more prone to droughts and dying out compared to the large forests, and it's necessary to connect them back. Now that I've discussed the problems, let's get into the solutions of those problems. Now let's look at some of the few pre-existing solutions to the problem. They are manually planting trees, seed bombing, and community forestry, to name a few. While manually planting trees is effective, it takes far more manpower and resources to perform, whereas seed bombing is less effective but takes far more valuable tech and far more expensive tech to perform, whereas community forestry is only possible when there is community. And those currently pre-existing solutions are facing critical problems currently. Nowadays, manually planting trees is not that easy, cannot get such manpower easily. Plus, it is far more uh, costly and far more expensive compared to a robot. Plus, seed bombing is only effective when it's one shot thing. If you want to plant large number of same trees in a large area, it's effective, but it does not last for too long. It does not help you in monitoring, it does not help you in protecting nature from any other threats. It only helps you to plant the trees. And the major problem that community forestry is facing is that nowadays communities are no longer near the forest to protect the forest. Communities are shifting towards cities, meaning that forests are being left alone to guard for themselves from the threats like lumbering and poaching. And you may be asking, why a robot? Why a vision of a future with a robot that protects nature is necessary? And for that question, my answer is clear and simple. It's about the effectiveness, it's about cost, and it's about diverting human resources into necessary fields and letting robots handle the manual labor and the manual task while we do the research and compile the data that is needed to help nature be protected far better than it's being currently. Now, this robot vision is not just an idea, a rapid reforestation idea, a fire resilience idea, an eco monitoring idea. This is not just a fantasy that I'm presenting to you, it is a prototype that has already been built by me, a robot that can perform most of its tasks efficiently, like seed dispersal, fertilizer dispersal, and terrain scaling. Let's get into our first feature, seed dispersal. The robot that I've built and the robot in my vision can disperse wild seeds into barren pieces of land. For example, a little bald spot in a forest that could host plants but doesn't, could get the seeds that it needs to flower bushes. It could get the seed that it needs to sprout some plants, and that could be done by our robot. Here, you can look at the video sample of the robot that I made dispersing seed in a 1 meter square area, which is small enough to be precise to target a bald spot, whereas large enough so that it does not form a heap. Now, let's look at where it would be effective to deploy such a robot for planting and spreading seeds. When I interviewed my community, the families of my community, I found out that 8 out of the 10 families were in villages 2 generations ago, and now they've completely abandoned it, meaning there is barren land waiting to be planted with plants again. Now let's look at the another feature of my robot, and that is fertilizer distribution. Due to the land being barren and due to the use of modern fertilizers, the land have been sucked out all of its nutrients, meaning the plant that we spread, it's going to be difficult for them to grow, for them to thrive. Plus, a few of the plants whose growth has been stunted could be helped by a little bit of fertilizer. And this fertilizer distribution system is very necessary when it comes to delivering nutrients that help to protect the plant from various diseases like nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, and other essential minerals required for the plant. Now let's look at the demo of the compartment that dispersed fertilizer in my robot. You could see that my robot dispersed fertilizer in small enough areas so that it does not get into all the plants, whereas it's large enough to spread into the plant and doesn't drip into one place. Now let's look at the another feature of our robot, that is rough terrain capability. When you look at the terrain of Nepal, it's very rough. It's hilly and it's slopy with a lot of gravel and sand in it. It's very hard for robots to scale such terrain, and to tackle a problem like that, we've taken help and idea from a Mars rover system, that is the rocker buggy system, which allows the robot to have 2 wheels in front and back, which means that the front wheel could climb up the obstacle, whereas the back wheel acts as a fulcrum, meaning that a small obstacle like a gravel or a, or a plank of wood would not be just a problem that is being faced by a robot. It could easily tackle such problems and get into rough terrains. Now let's look at into the another special feature, and I would say the most important and the most impressive feature of my robot, and that is modular capability. My robot was built in various different parts, meaning the modules that dispersed seed is far different from the module that dispensed water, and far different from the module that scaled the terrain. We made the modules completely differently, meaning we could add different modules at different time require according to our requirements. We could add a sensor module if we want to collect far more data. We could add a seed dispersal module if we want to plant seeds. We could add a fertilizer distribution module if we want to spread fertilizer according to our needs, according to the land that is being changed. We could change the features of the robot, and that could be proven very helpful and cost effective in the long run, as we could use the same robot for multiple tasks. This is an urgent call for restoration. This robot can be used to help restore degraded landscape, help in post-fire recovery. You may have seen and known about the LA fires. Now, due to climate change, the forest fires are becoming more fierce and more powerful, meaning detecting them and stopping them, plus helping the forest recover after a forest fire, is very necessary to protect nature. Let's look at the future of the robot and what is in my vision for the future of it, and that is data collection. The most important part of a robot is monitoring how nature is performing in every single step, meaning that we could perform how our robots are doing, what is the performance, what is their effectivity, and what is the climate they're working on. Plus, it could also help you determine the health of the soil. It could also help you determine what are the nutrients present in the soil by looking at the plant, the growth. Plus, one of the major part of data collection is that we could count the number of members in a single species to protect such endangered species. It could be proven helpful to know where where the specimen of the species are, what they're doing, how they're performing, plus what are the actions and what are the things that they require from us. Now, in the future, I'm not just thinking of having one robot, I'm thinking of a two robot system, a robot that is a bioscout, a robot that goes on the terrain, that looks for data, that collects data and valuable information like soil health and humidity. It could also track various other things like ambient temperature, plus what is the pressure, and various other things that are necessary to monitor the environment. Whereas we could use a drone that could detect fires. It could not just help you in detecting fires but also in mapping out the forest so that we can know it better. An army of these two robots would help you map an entire forest far more effective than any other form that is currently available to us. Not just that, it would not just help you in mapping it once, it would help you in monitoring continuously to finding out what the problems are. It could help you in identifying places where there's smuggling and lumbering, to identify the people that are causing the problems and to solve the problems from their roots. This is my proposal for you to help me develop a robot on my ideas, on my vision that I've already started building. And with your help, I could make it better and the best robot that could help in protecting nature overall. Thank you. This has been Sman Tripathi, and I hope you like this proposal.